I'm a self-promoter. I'm a very good-looking guy. I'm an idol to some. I'm a brainless idiot. I'm your daddy. I'm a psychopath. I'm unstable. I'm a curmudgeon's curmudgeon. I'm an animal. I'm a tyrant. I'm a physical peon. But I'm a man. I'm incompetent with women. I'm one of the great Casanovas of all time. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a coward. I'm a nut job.
Welcome to Termine Crashes Out, an NBA podcast with Justin Termine, brought to you by DCLA. And now it's time for Termine to crash out.
All right, we just saw the Los Angeles Lakers take care of the Houston Rockets 98-78. They easily beat them, so not as fun to jump on the air tonight as it was yesterday after that Nuggets and Timberwolves game came down to the wire. Plus, you had a lot of drama in the final game of the night. But we do have some early games that were really exciting, so why don't we start with the earlier games, and then we'll bounce back to the Lakers and the Rockets here at the end of the program, because what we saw in the first two games, just absolutely dynamite. I'm not even sure where we should start, whether it should be with that awesome Pistons comeback win or what Toronto did with the heroics there. All I know is this weekend is going to be a ton of fun because we're going to have 3 Game 7s, one tomorrow between the Celtics and the Sixers, which I get to go to. And that's a historic rival. I get to be in the building. So I'm excited to be in the building for that tomorrow. And then we get 2 more on Sunday, right? And that's all you want is Game 7s, Raptors and Cavaliers and the Pistons and the Magic. And I appreciate everybody for stopping by on the program. I wasn't going to do it today because I'm sometimes going to take some Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays off. But everybody was following towards the tail end of the show, showing me support. So I figured I would hop on and give you guys a program. Plus, I've been having fun doing this the last couple of nights. And, you know, really, let me start off with this. Why don't we start off with the Raptors and Cavaliers game, since that's the one that has surprised me the most. I mean, I guess the way Detroit went about the win today shocked you. But in regards to the overall result, shocked more by what's going on in Toronto with the Raptors and the Cavaliers. And first, let me say this. I was 100% wrong. So if you're a Raptor fan tuning into this, please accept my apologies. I thought they were the worst team in the Eastern Conference. I thought that the Cavaliers would take care of them very quickly in 5 games. And now, even if they aren't going to go on to win, you got to give them a lot of credit, and they have to feel good about the situation that they are in. I mean, think about this. They don't even have their starting point guard. They're a bad offense anyway, or a porous offense during the regular season. Middle of the road, certainly lower level for a postseason team, Toronto. Then they don't have their starting point guard for the entire series in Emmanuel Quickley. Then they lose their leading scorer and their all-star in Brandon Ingram to injury for this game, most of last game, and really the entire series, because even when Ingram was healthy, Ingram wasn't playing well. And yet, despite that, despite losing their starting point guard, despite losing Brandon Ingram, their leading scorer and all-star, despite having the least amount of postseason experience of any postseason team in the league this year in regards to games played, the Toronto Raptors are going to a 7th game. And even if they lose, again, you have to feel really good about where this team sits moving forward. It's their first trip to the postseason for many of these guys, including their head coach. Scotty Barnes has been the best player in the series by 1.5 miles. The only time he didn't look good was the second half of last game, where he was dealing with the quad injury. The quad injury looked like it was non-existent tonight. He has been better. He has shared a floor with playoff veterans. Like Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Evan Mobley, who's got some experience, Jarrett Allen, and he has been the best player on the floor in his first trip to the playoffs. Jamal Shed, how awesome is he? Makes the right play almost every single time. The defense that he was providing on James Harden tonight, he's been incredible. The play he had earlier in the series where he forced the 8-second violation on Donovan Mitchell, he's been fantastic. Colin Murray-Boyles has spent a chunk of this series outplaying off the bench the 2 Cleveland bigs in Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. Now, tonight he didn't outplay Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley was fantastic. But for the series as a whole, Give me Colin Murray-Boyles, what he's done off the bench. I mean, they're young. They have a smothering defense, which you saw in overtime. So it's really been eye-opening to see what Toronto has done. And my apologies to the Raptor fan, because they have handled this and almost been better than they were during the regular season. Now, in regards to tonight specifically, here's the part that was impressive, is they blow a 15-point lead. And you saw this with Orlando. Orlando blows the 24-point lead. Then they completely unraveled. They lost their composure. Toronto doesn't do that. And a young team could have in that spot. They blow a 15-point late lead. They get outscored 23-12 in the fourth quarter to send this thing to overtime. But they kept their composure and they win in OT. How many teams like that at that age without the experience in a closeout game or in an elimination game for them handle it like that, where they start to cave and they're able to regather themselves and do that? And really, they look like the veteran team. They look like the older team, because somebody tell me, what the hell was Cleveland doing in overtime? They had a 1-point lead in the final seconds. Dennis Schroeder gets the ball over half court and still panics, throws it to Evan Mobley, who's kind of caught along the sideline there. The ball goes out of bounds. Toronto gets the ball back. And by the way, credit to Toronto on that final play, because not only did Evan Mobley and Schroeder do something stupid there, but they could have fouled. Most teams probably would have fouled. And they didn't. They chose to try and get the steal, and they got it. And it was suffocating defense. Amazing defense. They're one of the best defensive teams in the entire league. I mean, outside of Oklahoma City, maybe San Antonio, they might be the best defensive team of the postseason. They are elite. And then R.J. Barrett hits that little Don Nelson shot, right? 1969 NBA Finals, Nelson, with about a minute left, hits the shot that bounces off the back of the rim, goes sky high, drops through the hoop. And I don't know what is going on, if, we're reverting back into time. 1969, Nelson hits that shot in the big spot. We go like 60 years. We don't see any of those shots again. And then all of a sudden, in back-to-back seasons, we have game winners on the Don Nelson back of the rim jumper, where the ball goes straight in the air and comes back down. Tyrese Halliburton does it last year in game 1 against the Knicks, and that eventually leads to them going to the NBA Finals. Maybe they don't do that if he doesn't hit that shot, if he doesn't get the little touch of God there. And that's the same thing here tonight. R.J. Barrett, ball goes straight up. It comes back down. I haven't seen it since 1969 with Don Nelson. We see it twice in the matter of 2 years. And I believe Banchero hit a shot like that a couple of days ago in the Magic game. So it's nuts, all these shots going off the back of the rim, going high and falling back down. So that, absolutely nuts. And as for the Cavaliers, you can't blame this one on Evan Mobley. I know there's been a lot of criticism directed towards him. He's not developing into that MVP candidate that he was expected to be. He hasn't been much better than he was his rookie year. People complaining about his contract, how he's overrated. He's the third guy on this team when he was supposed to be a couple of years ago, maybe the number one guy. He's a little bit timid, got outplayed the first couple of games, as I mentioned, by Colin Murray-Boyles, but he was the key down the stretch of Game 5, saved Cleveland, saved the bigger names like Harden and Donovan Mitchell with a couple of threes at the close of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter. They ended up getting the win, and he had some big shots here again tonight. He was awesome. 26 points, 14 rebounds, 9 of 15. Evan Mobley carried his weight. It was the other guys that didn't. Where the hell was Donovan Mitchell? And not just in this game. I guess the way I should term that is, where the hell has Donovan Mitchell been? First 2 games, Donovan Mitchell looks like Donovan Mitchell should of this series. He's been so bad in the last 4 games, you have to question whether he is ill, whether he is sick, whether he is hurt. Game 3, really bad. 15 points, 7 of 16. Game 4, 20 points, 6 of 24. A 3-15 start to that game through the first 3 quarters. Game 5, even though they won, 19 points, 3 assists, 7 of 17. Then tonight he goes out there, 24 points, 2 assists, 11 of 26. And for the second straight game, really didn't do anything till the fourth quarter. Where has Donovan Mitchell been? This is a team that is the, A favorite to reach the NBA Finals. They're the favorite in this series. The rest of the East is crumbling outside of the Knicks. They're on the easy side of the bracket with Detroit or Orlando next. They don't have to worry about the Knicks or Philadelphia or Boston. And I shouldn't say that, Detroit is worse than those teams, but they do look inexperienced, even though they've bounced back the last couple of games and their offense has issues. So you're on the right side of the bracket. You got to take advantage of this opportunity for Donovan Mitchell, who they went all in. They got him James Harden. He loved that move. I talked to Donovan Mitchell at the All-Star game. He was amped up and ready to go. All right, so take advantage of it. Never been out of the second round. And Donovan Mitchell right now does not look like he's, playing at a star level. He's been horrible. Now, some of that has to do with just a suffocating Toronto defense, but he's got to be better. And, I'm rooting for him. There's some superstars where you root against them. Whether it's you don't like their game, you don't like them, team hopping, you don't like whatever. But Donovan Mitchell's a guy I love because I've dealt with him in the media, and he is a stand-up guy. So I root for Donovan Mitchell. He is not one of the stars that you want to see fail. I want to say, on the flip side, I'd love to see Toronto win the series just because it's a fun story. But again, Cleveland is the early favorite in Game 7. They're 7.5-point favorites, but they're going to have all the pressure on them. And the other thing is, do you really trust James Harden in the Game 7? Regardless of which team is better, which team is more talented, you get James Harden in a one-off in a Game 7. We have seen him disappear too many times, especially in a Game 7. He was great last year in Game 6 against Denver. Then Game 7 completely disappears. One of the reasons that Clippers lost 2023 against the Celtics, Game 7, after being great earlier in the series when he was with the Sixers, completely disappeared. You want to rely on James Harden in a Game 7? You want to trust Donovan Mitchell the way that he has played the last 4 games in a Game 7? Now, I think Cleveland will win, but we could also get a complete egg from James Harden. You never know what to expect. And again, we don't need to get ahead of ourselves, but if the Cavs lose, oh boy, it is going to be a rough summer. There will be major changes. And just like there could be in Houston, we'll get to Houston when we touch on the Lakers and Rockets game that just concluded about 15 minutes ago, right when we hopped on the air, 98-78. The Lakers get the win. Again, before we get there, we just got done with Cavaliers and Raptors. Apologies to the Raptor fan. Thought it would be over in 5. You would lose. You've really showed me something. Now, to the fun game was Raptors Cavaliers. The historic game, the one that might be referenced years from now, Pistons over the Magic, 93-79, as Detroit staves off elimination, forces a Game 7 Sunday in Detroit. And I have to tell you, I almost did the same thing I did with Knicks Hawks yesterday. Knicks Hawks was so bad at halftime, I said, all right, let me switch over to Celtics Sixers. And then I just stayed with Celtics Sixers. So there was some overlap between this game and Cavaliers and Raptors. So I said, all right, well, halftime, this Pistons Magic game, Orlando's running away with this. I'm going to switch it. I think they're up 22 at the half, 60-38. I'm going to switch over to the Raptors and Cavaliers. And then Magic lead by as many as 24. And all my notes as I'm sitting there going, what am I going to talk about here tonight on Termine Crashes Out on YouTube with you guys? And again, you guys can leave the comments here. I'll go back and look for it in just a second, and I'll read some of the notes here in the chat. But all my notes. All right, well, Pistons lose. This is a disaster. What does it mean for Cade? What does it mean for Jalen Duren? What does it mean for the supporting cast? What does it mean for JB Bickerstaff? Completely out the window. And I'm fine with that because we get to see a Game 7 now. And that's what we want to see. But second half, Detroit outscores the Magic 55-19. That's with their back against the wall. They're down by 24. That's almost more, and it probably is more embarrassing than what happened to the Hawks yesterday. In fact, it is more embarrassing because they had a chance to close it out. The Hawks were just trying to stay alive. In all likelihood, they would lose Game 7. Orlando is up 24. They can smell, hey, we're advancing to the next round. And they blew that, and they blew it at home. Now, you're in Detroit. You have a 24-point lead. You blow it. It's still pathetic. It's still embarrassing. You blow a 24-point second-half lead on your home floor with a chance to advance. That's ghastly. I mean, 55-19. They had 11 points in the third quarter. 8 points in the fourth quarter. They scored 19 points in the second half. Think about that. Like Tracy McGrady scored 13 points in 35 seconds. Tracy McGrady had 13 points in 35 seconds. The Orlando Magic had 19 in 24 minutes. They had 6 more points than Tracy McGrady, who had 13 points in 35 seconds. Put it that way, and that really tells you how pathetic of a performance that is, especially when they're a postseason team. That's not the Washington Wizards trying to lose games so they can draft Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa. That's the Magic trying to advance in the postseason. 55-19 in the second half. And they still, in the fourth quarter, despite scoring just 11 points, they still headed into the fourth quarter with a 9-point lead. And then in the fourth quarter, they got outscored 31-8. They were 1 of 20 from the field. They were 0 of 10 from 3. They were 6 of 8 from the line. That was the fourth quarter. The second half as a whole, they were 4 of 37 from the floor. They were 2 of 18 from 3. Luckily, they hit some foul shots. They were 9 of 12 from the line. I mean, and I saw everybody online, and they're right. They're saying, well, that's reminiscent of missing 27 consecutive threes back in 2018 from Houston. That's one of the more pathetic performances of all time. We mocked Houston for missing the 27 consecutive threes. This team, Orlando, missed 23 consecutive shots, meaning 2s, 3s, all of it. 23 consecutive shots. How does that happen at home when you have an opportunity to clinch? And the other aspect of this is just think of that. Think about what older players are thinking when they watch that. And I love the modern game, but think about what older players, I try and protect the older players as well. You hear all this stuff from J.J. Redick, who was coaching in the game tonight. Plumbers and firemen, that's who they played back in the day. You imagine showing that game where Orlando misses 23 consecutive shots and scores 19 points? You telling me they couldn't do that in the 80s? They couldn't do it in the 70s? They couldn't do that in the 60s? They couldn't do that in the 50s? That was despicable basketball. You're watching that game down the stretch. Then you watch yesterday with Atlanta. If you got out of a time machine and you were in the 1960s, you'd think the game got worse. You'd think the sport went backwards, not forwards, not evolution. You'd think it regressed. That's how bad, some of these performances have been over the last 2 days. But don't put it all on the offense of Orlando, even though it was abysmal and embarrassing. That was a hell of a defensive performance by Detroit. They turned it up, led by Asar Thompson, who was all over the floor. But they turned it up a notch. And to do that with your season on the line, down 24 on the road, and that's also where you just give Cade Cunningham a ton of credit, because they're in a spot there where a lot of guys might just roll over and die, and he continued to play. And, that's what got him in it, is when your leader continues to play and doesn't give up and doesn't hang his head, then nobody else can. He played super hard, and that might be the biggest takeaway from it, is never said give up. Give Cade Cunningham credit for that. Never gives up in this spot, and you have back-to-back, I know nobody likes their star player to get criticized, and Cade was on the verge of being really criticized. Nobody likes it when their player's criticized, right? You get eliminated yesterday, Jokic is going to get criticized. You have to spend all day doing that. I'm sure it killed the Nugget fan. Tomorrow, either the Celtics or the Sixers will get eliminated. Boston gets eliminated. Jaylen Brown, maybe Tatum, even though Tatum doesn't deserve to get criticized after coming back, are going to get criticism. Your star gets eliminated, you get criticized. Cade was on the verge of that. Down 3-1 as a 60-win team, 1 seed to an 8th seed. Cade gave you 45 points in Game 5, then bounced back, was abysmal in the first half, is down by 24, instead of hanging his head, leads a 24-point comeback on the road, gives you 19 points in the fourth quarter. And now all of a sudden you're talking about two back-to-back historic performances from Cade Cunningham. You scour the books, the games, the history of the Detroit Pistons, and I understand the Isaiah stuff, and we talked about that yesterday in the postseason. One of the great postseason performers of all time, and I'm not saying Cade doing this is better than what he did in the 88 finals on the busted ankle. But what I am saying is this is in the conversation. What he's done back-to-back nights, 45 points and then 19 points in the fourth quarter to lead a massive, historic comeback. Because the 19 points are the fewest ever scored in the half of the postseason. 23 was the previous low. And think about that. That's not in the hand check era. That's not back in the mid-90s. That's in 2026, where it couldn't be easier to score because of the rules. And still, the 80-year history of the sport, that's the fewest points ever scored in the second half of a playoff game, when it's supposed to be at the easiest for people in the league to score. So that second half saved the Pistons season. Saved the questions about Cade. Oh, can Cade carry? Saved the questions about Jalen Duren for now. Now, Jalen Duren continues to play like this. Jalen Duren's going to take a lot of heat, but at least staved off the criticism of Cade, of Jalen Duren, of JB Bickerstaff, all that stuff. You know, Bickerstaff would have been put on the clock. Duren, what type of contract is he going to get in the offseason? You know, is he a legitimate all-NBA guy? Did Detroit make the right decision by not making a deal at the deadline outside of Kevin Huerter? And all that stuff is still fair criticism, even if they win Game 7 in advance. If Jalen Duren's going to continue to play like this, and if they lose because they don't have any outside shooting, because Trajan Langdon in the front office didn't do it. But at least it prevents the conversation from happening right away. So this series is over. Finito. Done. Detroit's the better team. Detroit's going to be at home in Game 7. Detroit's going to have the momentum. Orlando's probably shell-shocked. Detroit has the best player in the series in Cade. Orlando's not going to have Franz Wagner in all likelihood. I just cannot envision Detroit winning. And we're going to get a repeat of history where they're going to come back from 3-1 down. We saw it in 2003. Orlando had a 3-1 lead on Detroit. Doc Rivers, Tracy McGrady. McGrady's running his mouth, already acting like they advanced after it was 3-1. Then they lose 3 consecutive games. And for the second time, they're gonna have the comeback. And thank you, Kyle Watson, for checking in, saying you're listening all the time. And again, I'll go through the comments at the end. If you have any comments, and if you're new, I do respond by writing back on YouTube. So go to the YouTube page at Termine Radio, at TERMINE Radio. Termine crashes out. Leave me a message there. I'm trying to respond. It's difficult for me here to read the comments, although I am working on having a buddy of mine jump on the show moving forward next week at some point. He'll read the questions to me at the end to make it a little bit easier. So now, before we get to the Lakers-Rockets game, and that'll be the last game we talk about, you can leave, your picks maybe in the comments. Who do you think has the best shot of getting the upset in Game 7? Because we got 3 Game 7s. How awesome is that? And I get to be at one. I'm pumped. Tomorrow, I'm going to be in the building for a Game 7. And a historic one. Sixers Celtics. Havelchuk stole the ball in 1965. That was a Game 7. Tatum, 51 points, 2003. Game 7 record. That was a Game 7. Philadelphia and Boston. On the flip side, for the Sixers, it was the Boston Strangler, Andrew Toney, 34 points in Game 7 in 1982. There was a Game 7 in 1981. It was the Celtics that came all the way back from 3-1 down, won that series by 1 point in the final game, 91-90. Cedric Maxwell goes into the stands, gets into a fight. Just awesome history there. So can't wait for it. But anyway, my question for the comments, which team, which underdog has the best shot tomorrow of getting the upset? Or this weekend? So, and I'll give it to you. they're all like heavy favorites. The home teams here are all heavy favorites. I don't agree with that. So Cleveland's a 7.5-point favorite over Toronto. According to Vegas, Cleveland's actually the team most likely to lose. Boston's 8.5-point favorites over Philadelphia, which is even more confusing just because of the Tatum health with the calf there. Then Detroit's 9.5-point favorites over Orlando. That one I kind of agree with. I think, and I see some of you putting Philadelphia here, I think Philadelphia's got the best shot, which stinks because I'm going to be over at all the Celtics games. And I see somebody else. Jesse says that as well. E-Rush and Jesse both say it's Sixers, as does Adaman. So I agree with you guys, which would be a bummer because I want to go to a bunch of postseason games. And I'm right next door to the Garden. As you guys know, if you've been listening to me for a while, I go to all the Celtics games. So I'd be bummed, but I do agree with that. I think that Philadelphia's got the best chance, followed by Toronto, then Orlando. And I give Philadelphia maybe a better than 50. I might even favor Philadelphia. But then I would say Toronto's got the next best shot, even though I don't think Toronto will do it. And then I give Orlando no shot. I'm sorry, I just don't. I think Detroit is going to easily win that. But we could have, it's only happened 13 times in NBA history where a team's come from 3-1 down. We could have it happen twice this weekend. How about that? All right, so you guys tend to think that it's the 76ers as well. And then we have Detroit and Cleveland will roll. I guess that's from E-Rush, but I think it's Philadelphia. All right, so now the Lakers and Rockets here. 98-78. Lakers get the win. They end Houston's season. 6 games. They advance to the second round. They're going to get murdered. They will get eviscerated by the Oklahoma City Thunder. But at least they get to the second round. That's an accomplishment, especially without Luka and without Austin Reeves for most of this. And good for the Lakers. They avoided Game 7 where there'd be all sorts of pressure on them and it would dominate luckily they don't have most of the talk shows because the game would have been on Sunday. So you wouldn't have had the weekday first takes and, you wouldn't have had Eddie and myself on the air either. But good for the Lakers because it would have been the main story the next couple of days. I was hoping the Lakers would lose personally so LeBron could then be the face of the first ever 3-0 collapse in NBA history. I mean, you talk about a turn, all right? All of a sudden, you go from no pressure, we lost Luka, we lost Austin Reeves, to, all right, we got pressure because we could be the first team to blow a 3-0 series lead. But you knew that it was not going to happen. You knew that even though Houston was favored by 3.5 earlier today, it was the easiest money to pick the Lakers. They end up winning by 20 points because you knew LeBron was going to come out aggressive. And that's what he did right from the jump. He knew what was at stake. He didn't want to be the face of blowing a 3-0 series lead. And LA jumped out to the 49-31 lead at the half. Their defense was amazing. LeBron took care of the offense. At the half, LeBron, as a matter of fact, he struggled the last 2 games. And again, you knew he was going to come out with a chip on his shoulder tonight, take care of business. At the half, he had 18 points, 5 assists, 7 of 14, after averaging just 17 over the last 2 games. So LeBron had more points at the half tonight than he was averaging in the entirety of the games over the last 2, which is what you expected because you knew that he was going to give it his all. He didn't want to be in a Game 7 where anything could happen and have his legacy tarnished. Not that there's much that could tarnish his legacy at this point. One of the few things that would is blowing a 3-0 series lead. So he came out like a bat out of hell, got the job done. Austin Reeves looked much better. After, he didn't have his rhythm in his first game coming back. Deandre Ayton has been really fantastic quietly the last couple of weeks. He only had 17 points, but he had 16 rebounds. He was all over the glass. He's given a different type of effort ever since, basically the Clint Capella comments, right? That seemed to click with something. The bad news is Marcus Smart has come back down to earth after he was amazing in the first 3 games, and he was not great again tonight. And then Luke Kennard's completely disappeared. I mean, completely disappeared. Guy's dropping 27 points in Game 1. He was really good in Game 2. He's been abysmal the last couple of games. Tonight, he had 3 points in 29 minutes. And if he's not scoring, he's not doing anything for you because he doesn't defend at all. So next up for the Lakers is OKC. LA is not winning, even if they got Luka back. Okay, even if they got Luka back, they're not winning. So you don't mess with that because you look at all the other guys that are dealing with the hamstring issues, and the Aaron Gordons. Even though now it's a calf, Jalen Williams, they injure it, then they re-injure it, and then they're out a significant amount of time. In the case of guys like Kevin Johnson, then it's career hindering. So you don't have a shot to beat OKC anyway. Don't mess with that unless he is close to 100%. You don't want him re-injuring it. Bottom line is OKC, chances are, is going to be 8-0 heading into the conference finals. And I was not one of those people that said, oh, LeBron's legacy, if he beats a horrible Rockets team, is, I heard Kendrick Perkins saying that, right? Oh, if LeBron beats the Rockets without Luke and Austin Reeves, that just helps his GOAT conversation even more, and he's better than Durant. I didn't buy into that. That's stupid. But I will say this, if he beats Oklahoma City, that'll help any debate you're having about LeBron, because that's not happening. I mean, there's a better chance they get swept probably than they win one game. So, I mean, push them a little bit, make them work, be nice, but unless there's a major injury for Oklahoma City, and they already have one with Jalen Williams, I just don't see it happening. And unfortunately, as good as this first round has been, and we're going to get 3 Game 7s, and we got some upsets, it's been a great first round. The second round has the potential, especially in the Western Conference, to be pathetic and mind-numbingly boring. I'm going to do these shows throughout the course of the second round. I might fall asleep in the second half of OKC Lakers, San Antonio, Minnesota. I mean, I don't know what the odds are on, can you pick a sweep? Like, can you go on these betting websites and go, hey, it's going to be 8-0. 4-0 Oklahoma City over LA, 4-0 San Antonio over Minnesota. Because one, the teams are just much better, even if Minnesota and LA were healthy, and Minnesota and LA aren't healthy. So I could see it being like a clean sweep for both teams or pretty darn close. Real quick on the future of the Rockets. What a horrible year for them. Supposed to compete for a title. They go all in for Kevin Durant. Even prior to the Durant injury, they were a mess. If the Lakers were healthy and they were facing a healthy Houston team, both teams healthy, LA would have won that series. They go all in for Durant. They finish around the same record, but instead of a 2 seed, they're a 5 seed. All right. They lose in 6 games instead of 7 in the first round. They have all sorts of chemistry issues with Durant, is always the case with Durant. You had the report today that they actually had to have a team meeting and discussion about the burner account around the All-Star game. Just a horrific year for them. And, earlier this year, at one point, they had a really bright future. Earlier this year, if you go back, I don't know if you guys, are reading the ESPN articles that come out at the beginning of the year where they got all these different gimmicks. And one of the gimmicks is, all right, who has the brightest future over the course of the next 3 years? And they had Houston ranked second brightest future, behind only Oklahoma City in ESPN's future power rankings, meaning the best team set up for the next 3 years, they were number 2. How do you think that would be reordered right now? I'd say the future now is looking pretty bleak. Durant's 37. Next year, he's going to be 38. Şengün, to me, this year regressed. Jabari Smith really hasn't improved at all. They've completely lost all confidence in Reed Shepherd. Amen Thompson, while an elite defender, can't hit a shot out 7 or 8 feet. All right? So some of the shine has come off Ime Udoka. He doesn't have the same reputation he did heading into last year or this year. So Houston went from a really bright future to it being relatively depressing. And I saw the stat, I'm sure you guys did as well, earlier in the postseason. Kevin Durant's last playoff win was May 7th of 2023. That means Durant did not win a postseason game in 2024. He did not win a postseason game in 2025, and he did not participate in a postseason win in 2026. He has not won a postseason game since 2023. I mean, and think of it this way. When's the last time he's been the best player on a floor in even a postseason game? Never mind a series. When's the last time he's been the best player? Like, he got outplayed in all 4 games in 2022 by Jason Tatum in the first round as the Celtics swept them. 2023, I would argue it went back and forth between Booker and Kawhi in the first round, and then Jokic was the best player in the second round in every one of those games. 2024, he was swept by Anthony Edwards. This year, he only played 1 game. He was not good. He had 9 turnovers. It's been a while since we've seen that version of Kevin Durant. So even if Houston wants to trade him with the slippage in play, even though I voted for him second team All-NBA this year, he was still good enough for that. But is he worth the headache? You know, a team would take a shot on him, but they're not going to give up what they've had to give up in the past to get Kevin Durant. And he certainly can't request a trade. Not with all the bouncing around he has done. And maybe you guys can leave in the comments as well. Should KD ask out? I think that would be embarrassing for him. Where would he fit best? Do you think Houston wants him out? And am I right with, the Lakers and OKC? Do you think that will be a sweep? And all right, so we got a couple of comments here. Aimden 20 says he was not the best player in Golden State. 100% agree. That was Steph Curry's team. Steph opened everything up for him. Steph won a championship before he got there. He won a championship after he got there. 100%. 100%. Not the best player there. The Portland Trailblazers are top 5 in the future. I agree with that as well. I'm really impressed with them. Hopefully they'll keep Tiago Splitter. All right? Hopefully they keep Tiago Splitter. Clint says, JT, if Luka plays and is 80 to 90%, you still think the Lakers have no shot against OKC? Unfortunately, Clint, I do not. We saw a little bit earlier this year where, at least for the first half, Luka and Austin Reeves were healthy. They got run off the floor, and that's when they were playing at their best. Nirvana fan says Houston looked horrible. You got that 100% correct. And it's just not about they didn't have Durant. And not that they just didn't have a point guard. They were horrible all season long. And that's another thing. You could put it at Rafael Stone's feet, too. Everybody else goes out and makes a deadline deal. How good would C.J. McCollum or Dennis Schroeder have looked in Houston? Or a guy like Ayo Dosunmu. Not sure if they could have got him, but he didn't go there for much, from Chicago to Minnesota. Who wins series first, OKC or San Antonio? It might, E-Rush, depend on who gets game 4 first. So it depends on the schedule. If both teams sweep, then yes. Sixers, best chance to win if Embiid plays, magically doesn't get hurt. I agree with you. And it doesn't even have to be about Embiid. It could be Boston just shooting themselves in the foot. And I think Maxi's the best player on that team. Michael says, hold on, terminally, LeBron is speaking. So he wants me to hold on because LeBron's talking. Very funny. I don't wait for LeBron. Nice White Sox hoodie on KD, another grow-up situation. Hey, give him credit for sitting on the bench. All right? This time he sat on the bench, which is rare. We got Mr. Toyota saying Jokic is the best player in the sport. Listen, I agree with that, but based off what we saw this postseason, people have the right to say that's no longer the case. It's certainly not a consensus anymore. And I would be willing to, I just don't think SGA is better than Jokic. Jokic is asked to do a lot more. Now, Wembanyama goes to the NBA Finals. Wembanyama wins a championship. I could be convinced to hand Wembanyama that list. All right? So I could give Wembanyama the title of best player in the sport. We've got Drury Enterprise. I don't see any chemistry from Cleveland. That appears to be the case. There's something wrong there. Did you guys see what Evan Mobley's mother apparently retweeted? It was a comment about Donovan Mitchell dominating the ball too much. Well, that could create some issues. She has since deleted it, but she apparently retweeted that here earlier today. And not one member of that core 4, as I've been saying on the Sirius XM show, has played well. Not one of them. So that's concerning. And they're going to blow it up in the offseason, just like the Knicks will if the Knicks lose, but the Knicks are handling their business. And the Knicks have to be loving this. 3 game 7s, they're not one of them. Let everybody beat up on each other. We have somebody that says Shea is the best player in the league. You could argue that. I mean, he's the best guard by far. I don't think he's the best overall player. I think he does one thing at a really elite level. That is score. Wembanyama can score at an elite level. He defends at an elite level. His gravity is an elite level. Jokic, best rebounder in the sport, best passer in the sport, most efficient, high-volume scorer in the sport. So that's where you sit there. And again, Wemby, we got people saying Wemby is not better than Jokic. And I 100% agree that it's up for debate. Before it was consensus for about 5 years. Now it's up for debate. Does anybody want Harden next year? We get that question from Emmett K. Somebody's always going to want him. People are also going to get sick of it, right? And there's teams that don't want him. A lot of all-time greats. Everybody's going to want that all-time great. Harden is a guy where it depends on what's surrounding him. Some teams are going to pass. And I fear that that's where we are with Durant as well, right? Some teams will now pass on Kevin Durant, whereas before it was a given that 2019, Durant wants out from a team, the 29 other teams are going to line up. Now there'll be some teams that say, you know what? We'll pass. And it's not because of his play. It's because of the, a lot of the chemistry stuff. And everywhere he goes since Golden State has been a disaster on the floor and in the locker room. Raptors top 5 defense from Jay Graham. 100% are, might even be better than that. That's their official rank. But, outside of OKC, their defense has impressed me more than any other team. They're going up against a really good offense. They have shut them down. And no team has helped their stock more than the Raptors this postseason to me. Wasn't high on them coming in. Thought they were the worst team in the Eastern Conference postseason. They've been fantastic, and nobody has helped their stock as an individual player, in my opinion, more than Scotty Barnes. Best player on the floor in that series. All right, thanks for stopping by. This is about 40-plus minutes. Thanks for convincing me to do this today. If you're a first-time viewer, we weren't going to do this. I jokingly said at the end of the show, hey, get me 33 followers. Get me up to 800 from, I think, 767. And you guys all jumped up board, and now we blew past 800. Happy to keep doing this throughout the course of the postseason. What I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to try and jump on I might do something pregame from the arena, probably not, but I'll try and find a quiet place to do something following Game 7, Sixers, Celtics, and it'll be shorter because it's just one game, and there'll be people around me, but I will try and jump on and do a show tomorrow live from the arena after Game 7. Whether the Celtics win, whether the Sixers win, we'll try and do something. And then clearly I'm going to have to do something Sunday because we have 2 Game 7s. So that's going to be kind of, listen, I thought I was going to take the weekend off. I did a show Friday, which I wasn't expecting to do. I got a little bit of a sore throat from all these late nights. And then we'll jump on Saturday, Sunday, do something there as well. Again, leave the comments on the YouTube page. Please subscribe. I appreciate the support. The more subscribers, the more shows like this I'll do. In the off season, we'll find some different ways to entertain ourselves. Maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll do something live from the lottery. Usually I attend. It's one of my favorite things the last 2 years was reacting to who got the first overall pick. And I flipped out both times. When Dallas won it because of, the Cooper flag thing and the trade with Luka. So that blew your mind. And then I went off the deep end when San Antonio won it, only because San Antonio won it with Duncan. Then they get lucky again with Wembanyama. So I love doing the show live as we get the lottery results. Anyway, we'll plan that moving forward. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for saying hello. We'll talk to you tomorrow at some point. And don't forget, give my buddy Deepak a follow there on Instagram and check out his website, bydcla.com. That's bydcla.com. Custom-made suits. I'll put a picture of Kobe right in the interior or any of your favorite players if you buy a suit from him. Does a fantastic job. All right, we'll talk to you later. Hope you enjoyed the